Hi guys, it's Miss Hubbell. I'm here today to work on lesson 13.6 in math with you, solve perimeter and area problems. The learning target today is I can find the missing length or width of a rectangle when I already know the area or the perimeter. So we're kind of working backwards today. Remember, we're going to circle our important numbers and underline our questions in our word problem. That's always a good strategy. A can of paint is used to cover all 168 square feet of a wall. The wall is 8 feet high. Tape is placed along the top, bottom, and sides of the wall. What is the width of the wall? That's our first question. How much tape is needed? That's our second question. So let's just start by filling in the parts we already know. I know that the can of paint is used to cover all 168 square feet, and when we cover an area, that is the area, 168 square feet. The wall is 8 feet high, so I'm going to come on the side, and I'm going to make it 8 feet high. We don't know the width of the wall yet. That's what we're actually trying to figure out in our first question. Okay? So when I'm trying to solve for something I don't know, I need to think about the formula for area. I know that the formula for area is length times width. Let's fill in the parts we know so that we can calculate the parts we don't know. I know that the area is 168, they told us. I know that the length is 8, they told us. We don't know the width. That's the part we're trying to figure out. So how do I find the missing factor in a multiplication problem? Well, when I'm trying to find the missing factor in a multiplication problem, I have to use the opposite or inverse operation, which would be division. So if we can take our product and divide it by what we know, it should give us what we don't know. So let's set up that problem. We're going to divide 168 by the side we know, which was 8. We're going to divide. We'll need to do daddy, mother, sister, brother, rover. This is long division. Now I divide to start. 8 goes into 16 2 times. Then I multiply. 2 times 8 is 16. Then I subtract. 16 minus 16 is 0. Then I bring down from the ones place. I bring the 8 down. Then I repeat. Let's go up to the top of our list and start all over again. We divide. 8 divides into 8 just one time exactly. I'm done. But let's go ahead and finish this guy out. We multiply 1 times 8 and we get 8. Then we subtract. 8 minus 8 we get 0. Bring down. We can't. There's nothing left. And whatever left over is our remainder. So there's no remainder, just 0. So it looks like our answer is 21. So we've now solved that our width is 21. What about units? Well, we're measuring this wall in feet, 21 feet wide. That's the answer to my first problem there. Let's go back to the question. It said, how much tape is needed? Well, needed for what? Tape is needed to be placed along the top, bottom, and sides of the wall. So that's the top, the bottom, and sides, both sides of the wall. Well, if I'm placing tape around the entire outside of the wall, that's a perimeter problem. Perimeter, add all the sides. So let's put our formula. Length plus width plus length plus width. Let's fill in the parts we know. We don't know the perimeter yet. But I know the length is 8, they told me. The width is the part we figured out, 21, plus another length, plus another width. The associative property of addition tells me I can add these numbers any way I want. It doesn't matter what order I add them in. So I guess I'll do the 8 and the 21 and the other 8 and the other 21. So 8 plus 21 is 29. This 8 plus 1 is also 29. And then I'll add those together and that'll give me the perimeter. You may need to come on the side over here and add 29 plus 29. You may need to come on the side and just say, well, it's 229, so I'll say 29 times 2. You may be able to do that mentally. Pause, figure that out for me. Our perimeter is 58 feet around the entire length of the wall. So we will need 58 feet of tape. Way to go. Let's move right on to the bottom of page 709. The Lookback Problem wants us to look back at that solve-in chair, and it says, describe the steps you would use to solve the problem, and they mean the problem above. So let's break it down into parts. The first thing we had to do was find the width of the wall. What did we have to do? Well, we said 168 divided by 8, and that gave us the 21 feet. What did we have to do second? Well, the second part of the problem said tape along the top, bottom, and sides. That was a perimeter problem. So the second thing we had to do was to find perimeter. So that was 8 plus 21 plus 8 plus 21, and that equals 58 feet. Some of you guys might have done that differently. You may have said 8 plus 21, and then you knew you had to do it twice, so you might have just said times 2. That would give you the same thing. Some of you might have said, well, there's 2 8s. So you might have multiplied 8 by 2, and you might have said, oh, well, there's 2 21s. So you might have multiplied 21 by 2, and then you might have just added those two parts together. That's going to give you the same thing, too. No matter how you solve it, that's going to give you 58 feet for your perimeter. So any one of those ways would be just fine. Okay? Let's flip to the back of this page. We're going to do our convince me problem. Okay? We're going to skip the visual learning today. I prefer to solve these a little bit differently than the book does, so that's how we'll do it today. Our problem says, if the area of another state park is 216 square miles, and the park has a width of 8 miles, what is the park's length? Also, what is the perimeter of the state park? Those are our two questions. This looks like it's very similar to the problem we just did. We know the width, we don't know the length. So let's write what we know. I know area equals length times width, right? I always start with the formula. I never skip that part. I know that the area, they said, was 216. I know that, I don't know the length, but I know that the width is 8 miles. And now I have to figure out the length. So how do I figure out the missing part of a multiplication problem? Well, we do the same thing we did before. We're going to do the inverse operation and divide. So we're going to say 216, and we're going to divide that by the 8, the side we know. We're going to do our steps, daddy, mother, sister, brother, rover. The first step is to divide. 8 goes into 2. No, that's too small. 8 goes into 21. Yes, it does. It goes in only 2 times. Then I multiply. 2 times 8 is 16. And then I subtract 21 minus 16. You may choose to regroup to subtract that. I prefer just to count up from the smaller number. I put that 16 right on my brain, and then I count up to 21. So I got that 16 there, and I say 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and I get up to 5. So I know that 16 plus 5 is 21. Then I have to bring down. So I have the ones place here. I'll bring down that 6. Then I have to repeat. Start over at the top. So I have to divide again. Does 8 go into 56? Yes, 8 does go into 56. It goes in 7 times. Then I multiply. 7 times 8 is exactly 56. Then I subtract. I get 0. There's nothing to bring down. There's nothing left to do. So 0 is my remainder. 27 is my answer. That means that the answer to the first question, the length is equal to 27. Well, 27 what? Let's look back at the problem. It looks like we're measuring in miles this time. M-I period is the appropriate abbreviation for miles. So my length is 27 miles. Now they want us to tell the perimeter of the state park. Well, I know that perimeter equals length plus width plus length plus width. I know that my length is 27. They told me my width is 8 plus the 27 plus the 8 because it's 2 sides for length and 2 sides for width. Now, the associative property of addition tells me I can add these any way I want. I guess I'll do the 27 and the 8 together and the 27 and the 8 together. Well, 27 plus 8 is 35 plus 27 plus 8 is 35. If you need to come on the side and just stack that up, you certainly can. Now, I'm going to add 35 plus 35. If you need to stack those up on the side, you certainly can. 35 plus 35. My perimeter here is going to be 70, look back at the problem, what are our units? Miles. 70 miles around the state park is the perimeter. That's my second answer. So I found the length and I found the perimeter. Good job, guys. Let's keep rolling. Okay, today let's look at the guided practice together. You might notice I already scratched out number 5. You may want to go scratch out number 5 too. Number 5 has a fraction in it, and we'll be skipping fractions for our lessons. If you like to give yourself that little extra challenge and you would like to figure that one out, I bet a lot of you probably can. Let's look at number 1. It says, a sandbox is shaped like a rectangle. The area is 16 square feet. The side lengths are whole numbers. Oh, it doesn't tell us what they are. What are the possible dimensions of the sandbox? That's our first question. Do all possible dimensions make sense? That's our second question. Well, if I don't know the sides, I know area equals length times width. I know the area is 16, but I don't know what the two side lengths are. I know that they're whole numbers. What is it called when we are trying to figure out the two factors for a product? Well, this is where we list all our factors. Yeah, we're going to make a factor tree here. This is perfect. So I'll do my 16 here. I always start with 1. 1 times what? 1 times 16. Then I go to 2. 2 times what? 2 times 8 equals 16. And then I go to 3. 3 times what? 3 is not a factor of 16. We cannot use 3. So we're going to go right on to the next number. 4. 4 times what gives me 16? Well, 4 times 4 does. 4 and 4, we've met in the middle. We've got all of our factor pairs. Now, dimensions just means the lengths of the sides of the sandbox. So what are the possible dimensions of the sandbox? Well, these are 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and 4 times 4. Done. Then it says, do all possible dimensions make sense? Well, have you ever seen a sandbox that was only 1 foot wide but 16 feet long? That one really doesn't make too much sense. What about a sandbox that's just 2 feet wide? I don't know, that sounds weird. That seems like a pretty unlikely length for a sandbox. I don't think that one makes too much sense. But a 4 by 4 square, that one makes a lot of sense. So my answer is, do all possible dimensions make sense? No. Only 4 by 4 feet makes sense. All right, number 2. Write and solve an equation to find the width of a room if the length of the floor is 8 feet and the area is 96 square feet. So the question in this one is actually find the width. Well, I know area equals length times width. They want me to write an equation. Remember, equations have an equal sign, equal. They told me that the area is 96. They told me that the length is 8. There's that 8 again. They said we have to find the width. The width is the part we don't know. So it says write an equation. Done. 96 equals 8 times our variable, which is the width. But then it says also write and solve. So now we have to solve. Well, I need to find the missing factor in a multiplication problem. I need to do the opposite or the inverse operation. So we're going to need to do 96 divided by 8. If you need to write your daddy, mother, sister, brother, Rover on the side, go ahead and do that. 8 divides into 9 one time. Then we multiply. 1 times 8 is 8. Then we subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. Then we bring down the 6. Then we repeat. Let's go back up to the top. Divide. 8 goes into 16 exactly 2 times. I know I'm done, but let's just finish. Multiply 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract 16 minus 16 is 0. Nothing left to bring down, and 0 is the remainder. So it says that 12 feet is the missing width. So there's our other answer. We did it. Good job. Let's continue our guided practice. For number 3, they want us to find variable n. Here's n. And they want us to find the perimeter. No, they don't. They said they're giving us the perimeter is 46 inches all the way around. We only have to find n. Well, it looks like the length is 8. We know that. The width is n. So we're trying to find the width of our problem. Well, I know that perimeter equals the length plus the other length, because the other one's 8 too, right? Plus the width, which is n, plus the other width, which is n. If I add these all up, it's going to give me my perimeter, which is 46. So how can I figure out what these two n's equal? To me, the simplest way to start with this is to add up the part we already know. I already know my 2 8s. So I'm going to add my 2 8s together, and I'm going to say 8 plus 8 is 16. So 16 plus n is going to equal the 46. Well, these two n's together plus 16 will give me my 46. Then the way I'd handle it from here is when I'm missing part of an addition problem, I have to do it by solving the inverse operation. Well, this is an adding problem. To find the missing part of an adding problem, I subtract. So I say 46 minus the 16 I already know about. Remember, we figured out 8 plus 8 was 16. And I'm going to get 30. That means n plus n equal 30. So 30 equals n plus n. Well, I only need to know one n, not two n's. So if I divide this 30 in half, 30 divided by 2, n is going to give me 15 inches. N equals 15 inches. Let's try another one like that to make sure we understand what we're doing here. Let's look at number 4 together. We're going to find n. Again, we're missing a side, right? The length in this case. And they said they're giving us the perimeter again. We still don't know what the area is. We didn't know what the area was last time, but we're only finding n as the side length. All right, well, I know that perimeter is equal to the width plus the other width, which is also 9, right? Plus the side length, which is n, plus the other side length, which is n. And the perimeter around the entire shape, they said, was 26. Well, let's add up the part we know. The two sides we know equal 18. So 18 plus the two ends, the two sides we don't know, that's our 26 perimeter. Well, how can I find the missing part to an adding problem? Well, I use the opposite inverse operation. So I'm going to say the answer is 26 minus the part I know, which is 18. I might have to do a little regrouping here. That's okay. I'm going to get 8. So these two ends equal 8. But I don't need to know two ends. I just need to know one n. Well, n plus n equals 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 plus 4 would give me 8. N is equal to 4 centimeters. Good job. Here's my 4 centimeters down here too. All right, guys. If you're feeling a little bit stressed out at this point, I encourage you not to. Just keep working the problems with me. It's going to be okay. On Friday, you're going to be working on a little project, and you won't be required to work backwards. I just want you to tough it through with me here. Let's work these problems together and see if we can make our way to our fun project on Friday, okay? For independent practice today, we're going to be doing only 6, 8, and 9. You can scratch out number 7 there in the middle. We're not going to be doing number 7 because it had a fraction in it. And like I told you, we were going to skip the fractions today. Okay? So we have area this time, and we are missing the width, n. We need to find n. Well, I know that area equals length times width. I know that the area is 60. They told me. I know that the length is 6, they told me, times the width. Well, we don't know what the width is. We only know that they're calling it n. So 60 equals 6 times n. You might be already thinking in your mind right at this moment, Miss Hubbell, I already know 6 times something is 60, and you probably already know what it is. But if you know, great, put n equals and put the answer. But if you don't know yet, when we find the missing part of a multiplication problem, we have to do the opposite inverse operation. So opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to take 60, and I'm going to divide it by the side we know, which is 6. 6 goes into 6 once. I'm going to annex that 0. 6 times 10 equals 60. So it looks like 10 feet because it looks like we're measuring in feet there. So n equals 10 feet. 10 times 6 is 60 for the area. We figured that one out pretty easily. Let's jump over to number 8 together. It says find n, so we're missing the length down the side. It's telling us that the perimeter equals 84 yards. Now, perimeter is a little more difficult than area. Too bad. We can do it, though. We can do it, right? This looks like a square, so I'm tempted to say all 4 sides are the same length, but we really shouldn't take that guess. They did not tell us this is a square, so we better work it out just in case, okay? So I know that perimeter is the 2 widths, 22 plus 22, plus the 2 lengths, n plus n, and if we add those 4 sides together, that'll give us the perimeter. We already know the perimeter is 84. They told us. Okay, let's figure out the part we already know. I know 22 plus 22 is 44. Now, when I'm trying to find the missing part of an adding problem, I need to do the opposite inverse operation. So the opposite of adding is subtracting. I'm going to kind of come over here so I have a little more room. I'm going to say 84 is my answer, minus the part I know over here. I knew that 22 plus 22 was 44. And I'm going to get 40. Okay, so n plus n, remember n plus n equals 40. I really don't have to do a subtraction to know this. I know that n plus n equals 40 if it's the same number. What number plus itself is equal to 40? Well, it's half of 40, isn't it? It's 20. 20 plus 20 equals 40. I am so glad we didn't assume it was a square and assume that all four sides were 22, because look, they were not. N is equal to 20 yards. So glad we didn't assume. It was tempting, but we didn't do it. All right, let's do number 9 together. Number 9 says, a rectangle has a length of 9 millimeters and an area of 270 square millimeters. What is the width? They even drew it for us. That's nice. 9 millimeters, so this side must be 9 millimeters too, right? And they said we don't know what the width is, not on top or on bottom, but they want the width and they want the perimeter. All right, we got a lot of work to do here. Let's see if we can do it. The area is equal to length times width. The area is 270. The length is 9, they told us, times the width. We don't know what that is. How do we find the missing part of a multiplication problem? We do the opposite inverse operation. What's the opposite of multiplication? It is division. So let's take our answer, 270, that's the area, and let's divide it by the side we know. That's 9, right? We're going to divide, that's long division, daddy, mother, sister, brother, rover. Let's do it. 9 goes into 2. No, that's too small. 9 goes into 27. Yes, it does. Goes in 3 times. Multiply. 3 times 9 is 27. Subtract. 27 minus 27 is 0. Bring down 0. Then we repeat. Divide. 9 into 0 is... That's a weird one that really messes up a lot of kids. Basically what I'm asking is 0 divided by 9, or another case, how many groups of 9 can I make with this 0? I can't make any groups of 9. I can make 0 groups of 9. So it looks like the width is equal to 30 millimeters. Because here's our 30 millimeters. Okay, but they still want to know the perimeter. Okay, we can do this. It's perimeter is equal to length plus width plus length plus width. So that's 9 plus 30 plus 9 plus 30 will give me my perimeter. Well, I guess I'll do 9 and 30 and 9 and 30, right? I'll do 39 plus 39. I may need to come over here on the side and stack my two 39s up, or I may want to say 39 times 2, or I may want to use mental math. I like using mental math. I know 40 plus 40 would be 80. So 39 plus 39 must be just 1 less, 1 less. So 80 minus 1 would give me 78. Now this is the distance around, so it's 78 millimeters. Ooh, I'm having a hard time writing M's. 78 millimeters for my perimeter. We've done it, my friends. Now you're going to go and you're going to do a few on your own. I know that you can. You're going to go on to pages 713 and 714. I've only given you maybe 5 problems that I'd love for you to try on your own. Good luck. Talk to you soon.